Yeah, 20 spaces maybe that are under the building.
Total of 68.
So it's like first come, first served with parking?
No, we'll probably, for our site, when our site is completed, we have tenants in, tenants want parking, they will get a site assigned to them.
Oh.
So that will be their parking space for them.
How do you get around the law that says that you have to have one space per unit and a third space for each bedroom? Plus
We are. So what we are doing is we are actually going for going to the zoning board, and we are asking to be required to provide 1.3 spaces for our project, but by doing that 1/3 offsite. So we are going to the zoning board asking for a variance for the requirement to keep those parking spaces on site. Meaning that our site is going to have 68 spaces on site.
Street parking. You're only providing off-street parking for one per unit.
That's right.
The rest of it is catch as catch can.
Right, and which was the point of the study, right? So we're going to the board to ask them to say...
How many of those spots are parking?
I'm sorry?
How many of those spots that you've considered are actually parking? The lotto...
No, okay, so let's go back. That's a legitimate question, very much. Yeah. All right. So the question was how many of the sites that I've been discussing are parkland sites. So, Shelley, can we go back to the parking map? The other one, right? So these are the areas that we looked at. Okay, and we looked at, as I mentioned, all of these streets. You'll also note up here some 3 big boxes. Okay, so the boxes indicate parking lot 3, which is Russian Orthodox Church parking lot right across the street. Parking lot 4, which is right now being utilized as parking, but is owned by the city, and then parking lot 8, which is also being utilized by the city down off of Trinity, but is also, being utilized as parking, but is also owned by the city. So we acknowledge that those parking areas are not available to us. And so all of the numbers that I indicated are not including any of those spaces. The city has indicated, that parking lot 4 and 8 is city parkland and is not available for parking. They acknowledge the parking is going on, and at some point, they may decide that they have to do something with that and make it parkland and enforce it. But right now, and so we are not including those spaces in any of the counts that I put up on the board.
Can you point out?
I'm sorry. 1 second. Yes.
Yeah, your study would be more meaningful if you went street by street. You're given a total aggregate number of parking spaces. And I've done my own study here at night after 7 o'clock. That's your crucial time. Now, I've come different hours between 7 and 11. And I come down Croton Terrace, and both sides of Croton Terrace, residents are parked there, all the way down to Seymour. Take a glance down Mulberry Street is booked solid. Cars on both sides. And you get down to Seymour and make the right and go north, and cars on both sides until you get to Porach. And then agreeable on the church side, the Holy Trinity Catholic Church side, there's nobody parked. And on the Longfellow side, there's 1 or 2 cars parked, and that's every night. So, and then I didn't even go Seymour down to Chris Christensen down to senior citizen housing because I didn't count that. But this is every night, so I know that your parking is crucial at night. So if you're going to displace those people that are there every night, where are they to go? Or is it going to be somebody from the building has more of a right to park there than a resident that has a place here? Because I can't see it myself. Those numbers don't jive with what I did.
Right. So certainly, certainly people would prefer to park close to their streets, and certainly people who come into this community and this project would be residents of the community and would also be looking, to park as close to their buildings. So, but at the same time, we did individual counts for each of the streets, and there are certain times where we did note that, and you can look at those counts and you can see, yes, Mulberry Street, for instance, and Croton Terrace, late in the evening, there are not very many open parking spaces at all. Right. So at the same time, there is available parking in all of the surrounding streets, which,
What's around these streets?
well, in, you know, the counts are showing just this area. So the counts that we put up and showing available spaces are showing what is available in this area. If it's not on Groton or on Mulberry, then it's part of it is here, part of it is on Portage. So it's not, I didn't give it to you every single street, but at the same time, if nothing is available on Mulberry that particular night, it's probably available on Seymour Street or it's available down on Portage.
It's not, what I meant to say, Portage was also booked solid. And the only place in all fairness, was on the Longfellow side, on Seymour, and on the church side. And that could account for maybe 8, 10 spaces. Now, if you're saying that the people in the new project will be residents, that's true. But if you're saying that if they get home before somebody who lives at 14 Mulberry for the last 30 years is going to have to go over to Walnut Street or Effingham Park because somebody who just moved and beat them.
Right, we don't believe anyone would need to go, you know, over to Effingham to park. I mean, clearly what we've done is looked only at these streets, including Walnut, and Walnut only between Portage and Trinity Street. And the numbers that we showed up there don't include Walnut right now. So Walnut was contributing another couple of parking spaces. So we're not expecting that anyone would need to go to Effingham. Anyone would need to go over to the other side of Yonkers Avenue.
It's still a resident on Mulberry.
Yes. Yes.
Could you just point out the 2 spots, parking before and 8, you said that with parklands that are not being factored in?
Yeah.
Just so I can see it.
Just right here, this parking lot 4, and this is parking lot 8.
And then with the building itself, you're going to have 20.
I'm sorry. Okay, this is parking lot 4. So this is, parking lot 4 is the parking lot which is, I don't know which direction I'm going. Right over here, which is right up on the corner of Ashburton and Mulberry Street. Across, next to the Lutheran Church. And then parking lot 8 is on the corner with the memorial.
And the parking on the building itself, should be 20 underground, and I guess 48 above ground?
Yeah.
Is there a possibility to also do underground on these, where the service lot is, so it's above and below parking? Is that a possibility?
Okay, so part of it is that the ground slopes, which is why you're actually going, you know, you're driving in and you're actually going under the building at Mulberry Street. But to go any lower than that would require us to actually have to excavate out and put some type of structured parking in place, which is too expensive to do in this type of project. Yes?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Steve. I don't know where these parking spaces are that you have found. How many did you say, 114 available?
Well, at different times. So I'm sorry, we can go back to that again. So what I'm saying is that at different times of the day, there are
All right,
different...
well, at different times of the day, it's not good. Because
Right.
people get up in the morning and go to work.
Right,
So
no, we
sure,
understand
there's
that.
plenty of parking available from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. However, when people come home from work, they want to be able to park on their street. Now, I'll tell you, I live on Portage, and there are no parking spaces there after 5 p.m. on the street. Not even all of the residents who live there can park on the street. And what will happen with your building, there has got to be at least an extra 68 parking spaces that will be needed. And they will be coming on Portage. And they may be coming at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when there are parking spaces. Therefore, the residents of Portage Street will have no place to park on their own street. There must be more less apartments, I would say. Not more parking, because you can't produce more parking. Less apartments. What is the occupancy, total occupancy, supposed to be for this building when you're finished?
The second or third bedroom.
I know, 68 apartments, but the person
It's a
occupancy.
combination of studios, 1s, 2s, and 3s. It's hard to know exactly what the occupancy is going to be. You know,
Well,
basically in a studio...
probably about 250 or so, right? I would guess, at least 200.
Right, but it's
What
also-
you're gonna do,
So don't expect it to be 250 people.
You don't expect
No,
250?
we wouldn't expect it to be that. We would expect it to be closer to about 180 people.
There's gonna be a lot of kids on the
You're gonna have
block.
children.
So one of the things,
A lot of kids.
How many three-bedroom apartments? Yeah, how many 2 and 3 total?
And 3 total.
2 bedrooms, 31 2 bedrooms, and 7 3-bedroom apartments.
So what's the total?
Of those two would be 38 apartments. 38 apartments. And so,
So you're gonna have close to 100 people in those apartments.
okay, so 2 bedrooms, so 2 bedrooms are typically, three or 4 people in that household. Yes, sir.
That other parking lot, on the 416, the one next to the.
What's gonna, do you live here?
The one, Shelley, could you go back to the chart? Yes. The other. This one?
The other.
This one?
Yes.
That's the church parking lot. Yes.
You eventually take that for your domain?
Oh, no, we're not looking to do anything with that, no. No, that's not our property, we're not looking to take that property, the city's not looking to take that property. That's actually the church's parking lot, and we haven't, no, we do the counts, the study is complete, it counts every parking spot. For purposes of what we believe is available, we did not count the church's parking lot or the 2 city parking lots. Yes.
I know you took this parking study just recently, but have you considered the churches when they celebrate special days, such as Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving, girls' weddings?
Well, we certainly are sensitive to it, we're aware of it, all right? We understand that when those events happen, sometimes people in the community that are attending those events are parking diagonally or they're doubling up on their parking, right? And so, I think.
But will we have them? Well, I know right now you're saying how they're parking diagonally, but when it comes down to it, when the building is built and you have all this parking, considering regular church services, then you have weddings, funerals, you have Christmas, you have Easter, and people come and visit. Can you actually say that everyone will have the parking?
Can't say that for sure.
I think what we can say is that if we look at these numbers during the church times and during the weekdays, that in addition to the cars that we would be bringing on, there would still be available spaces. And so during those feast days or during those special events, some of which occur during the day, so there would be additional parking events. Yes, sir.
With the other lady's question, why is 68 units a magic number?
Well, look, one of the things that you have to understand is that this property's been vacant for a long, long time. So we are coming in trying to see if we can't make a project work. The city's asked us, to come and put the best project forward that's going to be able to do what we propose to do, which is, I'm sorry, just one second. In order to be able to restore the existing Longfellow school and then also to put something new on site. So as in every development project, we need to be mindful of how much it costs and how we're able to, develop that project and be able to get it financed. And one of those things means, we have to come up with a magic number, how many units fit on the site, and everything works financially.
Yes.
68 units is the number of units that makes this project work. If we go less than that, it starts to eat into the financial viability of the project, and then we won't have a project.
Well, the mix of units that you have here,
Yes.
all right, if you keep the 68 units, all right, can you vary the amount of 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and stuff like that? You have to keep it in that same ratio.
We really have to keep it the way it is. We've worked on this quite a long time. And again, it's a mix of unit types for a number of reasons. We're looking to get funding through New York State, through some of their programs. They look for a mix of units so that the project is affordable over a number of different family types. But also financially, you know, we need to be able to bring in enough revenue to make the project work, and that requires us including a mix of studios, 1s, 2s, and 3s. Yes, sir.
Handicap spaces. Any handicap spaces are provided. The other thing is, you're going to bring 100 families in, police and fire protection means an increase in the area.
Okay. So the number of families would be 68, because we only have 68 units in the building, so it's only 68 families. Handicap accessibility, we are going to have a number of specified handicap spaces already on sites required under the zoning, and we're providing those spaces. Yes.
So, let me ask a question. People that live in Mulberry, should we get like first choice if we want to live in a 3-bedroom apartment? In the meeting, I think it's, you know,
First dibs.
yeah, you know.
Well, if we can get this project built, okay?
Where do we apply for?
Right. There will be a marketing process, and as part of that marketing process, we will put out information to everybody. We'll be taking applications for people to apply for units, and if you qualify, we'd be happy to give you
I have a question.
Okay, so
Excuse me.
I'll get to you. 1 second. So, okay, so I'll get to everybody, but
All right,
yes.
with more children coming in the neighborhoods, where are they going to play now?
Right.
Okay.
All right. So the city,
I mean, our children now play in the streets.
right. And I think, you know, one of the things, and again, I'm not, you know, it would be nice if someone from the city were here to address that question, but I know some of the discussions that we've had with them, you know, clearly parking lots 4 and 8 are park land, all right? They're not letting us utilize those spaces for parking, and the city has indicated to us that they want to take that back and make it true parkland. So I think you know, you should speak to your city representative. They're behind this project. You know, clearly we've gotten this far because the city, you know, has been supporting us, and I think they'd love to hear, you know, that you want to move forward with making those
They need to
areas.
move forward for the park.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you 2 quickie questions. One is, do you have a diagram that shows the size and dimensions of the apartments? And secondly, the people who are going to be working on this project, have you allocated any jobs at all for the people who, for the young men who live here, to get them off the street, even if they're just, you know, those guys who
Yeah, so
have the
for,
flags in the cars, you know, to keep the cars away, some
Sure.
jobs for them.
well, what we would, first off, just on the size of the apartment. So, all right, so there were 2 questions. One was if I could just give a general size. I don't have anything to illustrate. The question was, do I have anything to show the layouts and the sizes of the apartments? I don't have anything right now that I can put up on the screen for you. But the square footages of the apartments range from 500 square feet per studio to 950,000 square feet. 1,100 for a 3-bedroom.
Go to the bottom of the stairs.
So again, nice size apartments. They're not overly extravagant, but they're also meeting standard requirements, or you know, meeting the typical requirements for the types of housing that we've been building throughout New York City. And again, just to speak again about the type of apartment it's going to be energy efficient. It's going to have air conditioning and heating, you know, central air conditioning and heating. It's going to have washers and dishwashers. There'll be a laundry room in the building. So it's going to be a very energy efficient, modern, and convenient apartment. Yes.
Back in 2006, when Emilio was chosen as the mayor, the city council of the City of Yonkers authorized the mayor to do this, to negotiations. I have here a copy of the letter dated May 2013 from the Department of Law
both a resolution approved by the city council, which I don't have handy, and we also have a designation letter from the mayor, so we can certainly provide that information. The city has it, certainly request it from the city.
Can you speak up a little bit, stand up?
Your handicap spaces may be taken by somebody that's visiting or even somebody that lives there. So you can't expect me or my husband to go on Walnut Street in all kinds of weather to get into church. On May 25th, we had 250 people in our church on a Saturday afternoon. We have a Christmas concert. This is just our church. Everybody else has events. We have meetings. We don't take into account what's happening during the day. We're just counting parking spaces. So twofold is my concern, the handicap and the general parking.
Well, we did not count those. First off, we did not use the handicap spaces in our counts. Okay, so we didn't. So when I'm indicating the number of available spaces, we're not counting handicap spaces that are out there as being available to provide parking for us. We do have a number of handicap spaces on our own site, which I don't, off the top of my head, I'm sorry, I don't know the exact number. Whatever would be required under the zoning for those. I think we can try to address the availability of handicap spaces with the city and see whether or not the city, we can't control what spaces the city designates as handicap spaces in the community. So we can certainly go back to them and give them. It's fair to say what is the level of the city's support. So you can gauge that. But just a couple of things that I didn't mention in the beginning that I think people are probably out there. We're doing
jobs for the neighborhood residents?
One second, sir. Actually, that's a question you asked, and I'll get to that in a minute. So we have been doing that work already to go and to start to do the soil analysis that we need to do to move this project forward. We've had a team of people coming into the building already, doing the asbestos survey and the required, environmental surveys that need to be done, so that when we move forward on the project, we can move forward in a conscientious manner. And so I think that in and of itself just speaks to the city's support for the project. Why they're not here, they were invited, it would be nice, but I think that we can look at other indicators on the city's support. So during construction, our company as well as Hudson companies, we have a workforce, community workforce program that we implement. And so during construction, we will be working through the city and through the local communities to try to bring people who are in the local community into the construction process and to, I wish we had someone else here who could speak to that a little bit better. Do you want to take that one?
Thank you. Hi, I'm Aaron from the Hudson Companies. Thanks again for having us. On that piece in particular, we take that very seriously. In our last project in Brooklyn, we hosted events with community leaders and community board leaders to bring in anyone interested in a job, or we even had an OSHA certification program. We reached out to public housing. There's a program called Building Skills New York, which is really just getting off the ground. It's been a couple of years now, where they actually provide training with near NYU Poly, a 10-week class to give them some training, and then we place them in a construction site. So we would like to do that in Yonkers. We will have someone on staff on the site taking jobs. We will work with the churches. We will work with other community organizations, including Grayston, to make sure that the word is out that we are hiring. So we take that very seriously. And Hudson, on our last job, I think we had 47% local hire within a mile and a half of the site. So I'm not going to say trust me, because that's, but we do take it very seriously, and you will be there in real time to give us feedback if we're not doing a good job.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
My question to you is, it's not to do, low-income housing and everything, but it's a congested area, right? But how's it benefiting the community? That's what I want to know. What are you offering besides that for the community? But there's a lot of teenagers out here, a lot of kids out here. Where are they going to go? Are you building a community center? That's
Right.
my question.
No, we're not building a community center. We're actually building, we will be building residential housing, and we will be taking a building, which you can see, through the shots I put up here, and just walk across the street, and you can see is a dangerous and dilapidated building, and one that needs to come down and needs to be renovated in one form or another. And if it's not going to be this project, it's going to have to be another project. And so what we're bringing to the community is a new building and a new life to that particular site.
That's what I want to know. What about the community?
On parking lot 4, you said, as far as you know, the city's intention is to make that back to a true parking.
I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's just that.
I thought you said.
No, what they said is that is park space. We can utilize it, and what they're doing is they're looking into how they're going to renovate that as park space.
So I guess, let's say they do take it back and make it traditional parking. Did that factor in whoever was parking there into the parking study, meaning whoever was there is not going to have to use up other parking spots along Mulberry, Seymour, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we did factor. So the rents are going to range for a studio right now from about $980 a month to about $1,450 for a 3-bedroom.
That's not bad. But you're saying it's low income, so that's Section 8, working
Right.
people?
So this project is workforce housing, what we call workforce housing. Okay. The median, the income levels are going to be based off of the area median income, and so you are going to have a certain income, or not in excess of a certain income, in order to qualify for a unit in this project. But those incomes are going to range between $37,000 for a single person who's applying for a studio, up to someone making $63,000 or $64,000 who would be applying for a 3-bedroom.
It won't be subsidized, there'll be no Section 8?
We cannot turn anyone away because they have Section 8, okay? But what we would be doing is we would be setting up a marketing and an application process. Anybody can apply, okay? Anybody has incomes that fall within those ranges, then anybody is eligible. And then there's a process where it's basically done by lottery. There are preferences that we can give for people within the local community that we can set up, and then you conduct interviews and you bring people in. Yes, ma'am.
When you decide this construction of this place, have you considered the roads? Meaning the streets, they're going to probably be damaged, they're probably going to be used quite heavily, it may be worn or maybe repair. Who is responsible for that? Is it the developer or the
Do
city?
you want to answer that question? I mean, as far as any physical damage to the roads surrounding the site that we're going to be required to repair. So if we're doing construction, we damage the road, we're going to repair the road. Okay? If we damage the road because of our construction, we're going to repair the road. If there's certain work that we need to do in order to hook into the sewer or to get electrical done, we're going to repair that road. Right. We're not, if you're talking about repairing the existing street conditions, to something new, we would not be doing that.
What about the cleanup of the site? The site is very rat infested, mice infected. Can you cut that grass before you all? It's really terrible.
You know, we'd love to get in there right now and start doing a bunch of stuff. We don't own the site. We don't have site control. Okay, that's to say, it's still the city owns it, we don't own it yet. And so maybe I'm going to step back also for a minute, just hold questions for just another few
We
minutes.
don't solve the parking issue. Is this project still going to go forward?
We can't go forward if we don't have zoning board approval.
Exactly.
All right? And so we can't move forward at all. And so I just think it's also worthwhile, I didn't get to this, but we should talk about the timeline for the project. So we are moving ahead right now doing what we need to do in order to get this project lined up for an application to New York State for funds to help make this project feasible. And the state application timing for that is the end of this year. So we're moving quickly because there are quite a number of things that need to be done in order to make that application. And so once we get our application in, the state's process is to review that, give us an answer which, you know, we think that the project as we presented will score very well under their criteria, and that we will be awarded the funds that we're looking for in the spring of next year. Under that timing, then we would be able to move forward with a construction loan closing by the summer, by this time next year. And if we can close on a construction loan, we can begin working immediately after that. And then our projection is within 2 years of that point, we would have a completed project and we would start to have new residents in the building.
I haven't heard, is it pet friendly or pets allowed? Or I'm not talking about, you know, tenants, I'm talking about dogs allowed.
Oh, so it is
All right.
dogs on it? Oh.
There's no place to even walk with dogs
Yeah,
around here first.
we usually decide that later, but probably we don't typically have pets.
There's no grass around here.
Yeah.
Anywhere to walk the dog.
Yes, sir.
They don't do that.
Okay.
Let's listen to this gentleman, please.
I've heard many views expressed over here tonight. Let's cut to the chase here. The bottom line is, number one, you're applying for funds either from the state or from the federal, and once you do that, you're opening up Pandora's box. That's number one. We're going to get stuck with a problem here, okay? The three churches here, historically, for the last 100 years, have maintained this community in one form or another. If it wasn't for these three churches down here, you would have big problems down here. That's number one, okay? Number two, those areas that you designated as parking lots number 4 and 8, namely by the Lutheran Church and the Catholic Church, they're dedicated parklands, okay? However, we've had a mutual understanding with the city that when we have masses and we have church services and church events, that can be utilized for parking, which we have done. Now, it's my understanding now that the Parks Department is interested in taking that as parking areas and putting in grass in there to maintain it as so-called green belt or parklands. Now, once they do that, that means that the Lutheran Church and the Catholic Church, quite frankly, is going to be screwed, okay? And that means that we are, on Sunday, going to be parking not by the church, but on Ashburton Avenue, if we're lucky. If we're lucky, parking on Ashburton Avenue, because the people that come down here that are going to be living in there, and you know it, and I know it, that when you have 3-bedroom apartments, it's not 1 car in a family, it's not 2 cars in a family. How many people they have? 3 cars in a family. Okay? Then you can have alternate side of the street parking. And for you people that are residents here, you're screwed. Okay? So let's say it as it is. And finally, the message that has to be transpired to the mayor, to the state senator, to the councilman, state assemblyman is this, that these people here vote, and we don't forget. We don't forget. As the follow up to your question. Okay? And let me tell you something. Where's Steve Kabasha? He's over here. He's studying the map again. If Steve Kabasic was still in there as councilman, we wouldn't even be here discussing this. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
All right?
Right.
And you old timers have been around here, you know it, and I know it. So let's stop getting jerked around here. Let's maintain our integrity, and we better get what we want, or else we're going to take our own actions, one way or another.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, we have someone from Grayson. Grayson is our, Joe, do you want me to, I mean, Grayson's our consultant. I mean, we brought them into the project. I mean, they have a lot of, yes.
So how are they consultants? I mean,
Grayson?
I'm not being frank. We have an outsider coming in from the They've been in here 20 years. All right? They took over Pleasant Sack. All right? Concord. They developed a school next door.
But, you know,
They built a bakery on Woodward down by the Selma Cheese. Anyway, nothing to do with it. I don't understand how they're a community development. Plus, you used to be on our property. When you said, oh, we should do the parks like that, on Sunday and morning there. That's 6 parking spaces. Not even 100. You threatened the city would take over our spaces as parking. That's, no, you did, sir, in the beginning. You used it as an act. You said the city right now is allowing the church to use it as parking. And you said the city would take it away and turn it into parking.
Well,
and that was your opening statement.
So let me address that for a second. So the first thing that we'll just, discuss, Grayson Foundation, who has been someone that we've worked with in the past, and certainly someone who brings a lot of expertise in real estate development and affordable housing development to our team. Right? One of the things, as I mentioned, is we're going to be making an application to New York State. Grayson's going to help us develop that application as a not-for-profit community partner, and that's going to make our application stronger. We've been critical